Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a minisode of Baka. We are normally a anime podcast that talks about animes that we watched over the past 2 weeks, like we're a book club. Every other week, we do these minisodes just for the heck of it because we don't know what else to do with ourselves. Report.
Better this than so many other things.
Right. Well, a lot of things that we fill our time with is MOBAs. So our conversation today is we are going to take anime characters and fit them into a MOBA game. A MOBA game is a multiplayer online battle arena. It's
nice.
Like a top-down, multi-lanes. You go and you fight each other.
If you don't know what a MOBA is, you don't internet enough.
Rude. So rude.
You gotta climb out from underneath that rock.
Jason, what's your Twitter handle? I need to address them to you. Okay.
Fortunately, I don't have Twitter yet.
Let me introduce these co-hosts who keep talking during the intro. First off, we have the Green Jesus Thrall to my Warcraft. Jeremy.
Oh yeah. I'm doing pretty good. Let's see, what was I going to talk about?
What you been up to? What you been doing besides Game of Thrones?
That's right.
The time.
That's right. I got Audible. That's right. And I got a really awesome book in Audible.
We're not sponsored by Audible like every other podcast. Why are they being talked about?
Audible.
Audible, you should sponsor us, and then Jeremy will talk about you. Until then,
Audible.
I'll let him.
Monkey Jihad is hysterical.
Okay, we're going to move on. We also have the Bastion to my Overwatch. Jason, how are you, man?
Pretty good.
He's the robot that just sits there and camps and everyone hates.
I remember Bastion was very powerful.
That's actually the only first-person shooter like PvP strategy that I know. Actually, back in Halo 2, I was so bad because I could not control her that I would find a pile of sticky grenades that would respawn on the map, and I would sit on them and then just chuck them. and like it was as they respawn, I'd chuck 4 more.
That's awesome.
What you been up to?
So when I got this house, it came with a hot tub, and we never touched it, and it ended up being a slug den for 2 years. And we spent 4 days cleaning it, filling it up, draining it, filling it up, putting chemicals in it, draining it, scrubbing it, filling it up. And it was worth every scrub. Holy crap. I haven't been in a hot tub in years. And
hot tubs
wow.
are awesome.
But anyways.
Wait till it gets to the winter and you get to go out there in the ice. Oh, man, nothing like being in the hot tub and having your beard freeze or your hair freeze. It's awesome.
I don't know if you're familiar with the Riddick Chronicles, but I saw a funny gif of the guy goes out into the storm and gets ripped apart. And someone under it goes, the temperature in Texas today.
Yes, my car has been saying 114 degrees for the last 3 days. I can't take the dog out during the day. I have to wait till the sun sets because the sidewalk will burn his feet.
Ew.
For those wondering if we're off the rails, this is just how many subs go.
Yeah.
Actually, most episodes, let's be honest.
That's pretty standard.
Yep.
How about you, Troy? What's you been up to?
You know what? There's a couple things I want to talk about. I'm going to talk about, I decided to play ranked in Heroes of the Storm, my MOBA of choice, probably the MOBA we'll reference the most. It's probably the least popular of MOBAs, League of Legends and Dota 2 being the big boys.
We love underdogs.
I like Heroes of the Storm because it's easy. And I've never been yelled at that much in my life. I've never been told I'm a horrible person.
Things about your mother.
My mechanical skills in games like that aren't off the wall. I'm a pretty average player. My knowledge is pretty high because I spend a lot of time watching other people play. And so watching people make mistakes in drafts and look, it's just, I came to hate myself.
I think my favorite stories so far of you telling me about Hero League is how often you win, and people are more upset than
so
as if they had
when you
lost.
win.
It's like they won, and they're still telling you terrible things about your family members.
The best, yeah, they will yell at you the whole game. You'll win, and they'll say, carried you.
Yeah.
5 of us on a team. And Heroes of the Storm is very team-based. Like, you have to work together.
It's a communism video game.
Right.
Yes.
So there is no carries, and it doesn't matter. Look, the reason I decided to talk about MOBAs for my thing, I don't usually like to do that, is because we are going into MOBAs. And like I said, Heroes of the Storm will be a big referencing point because I think it's the one me and Jeremy have played the most. Jason's played with it, and he's also done League of Legends a lot. So we are going to take anime characters, and we're going to put them in a MOBA role. We're going to give them abilities. We're going to give them what's called a trait, which is like a special uniqueness to a character that kind of gives them an edge. In Heroes of the Storm, you don't buy items like you do in League of Legends. They have abilities and those traits. So you might hear us referencing that. We're going to give them 3 abilities and an ultimate.
Yep.
And probably a trait as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the game we are playing, and that's what we're doing. This is a minisode.
Do I get to go first?
I can't stress that enough.
I'm so excited.
Okay, Jason, this is your idea. Of course it is. And so why don't you go first?
I want to give a shout out to Carbot. I love his Wouldn't It Be Cool videos. They're probably my favorite.
I just recently watched all of them in a row. So good.
So good.
You see the one with MF Palatine?
Yes.
Yes. That was
So good.
We should put the enormous dragon in here. So my first pick actually is Ainzul Gode.
Ooh.
So he's a he's a caster, so he's gonna have a really crappy auto attack, right? But his Q is just gonna be like a bolt of magic, so it'll be like a straight line projectile that, like a 5-second cooldown or something like that. That'll be his Q. His W is gonna be Messenger of Doom, and it's gonna have like a third of the map worth of range. It's gonna be huge range, but the caveat is you cannot send it to a location that you have vision. It has to be in the fog of war. And when he sends it there, it will reveal that area, like a small area, for like 3 seconds. And if it hits an enemy or enemies, it will give them a slow and cut their damage in half for 2 seconds.
I like it.
Reminds me of the talking.
Yep.
His E is going to be Raised Death Knight. So when 10 minions die around him, the ability will become charged, and he can raise a Death Knight that will last for like 2 minutes, uncontrollable. And he'll go around killing stuff. His first R is going to be Summon World Item, and he'll summon...
R means ultimate.
Oh, yeah.
I'm assuming there's people who don't play MOBAs listening to us. I'm trying to help.
So in specifically Heroes of the Storm, most characters you can choose between 2 different ultimates. Some more, some less. But so for his first one is Summon Oberos. So that's the game rule changing ultimate. And so what'll happen is if he targets an enemy with it, it'll turn friendly fire on for the enemy team for 7 seconds.
Oh,
that's
awesome.
all it does. If he targets an ally, it makes everyone invulnerable for 3 seconds. Depending on, or no matter which one he chooses, he must be channeling the entire duration.
Oh, geez.
So it can't be interrupted. Right.
Okay.
His other one is Summon Divine Items. So instead of world items, it's the divine ones. He will gain armor and health for 15 seconds. And during those 15 seconds, all of his abilities change. And he can only, so each of his abilities is a different divine item, and he can only draw them once during that 15-second time. So his Q will be the huge axe, which is suck the blood and eat the flesh. And his auto attacks become huge, sweeping AoE, powerful attacks, but they're really slow. His W will be similar, but it will be Hoyo's bow. So, and whatever target it hits, it'll do a small AoE. And then E will be the Iron Fists of Wrath, which he will then hit the ground. It'll do damage and it will stun. But as soon as he uses that, he can only use them once. And when he puts them away, he'll pull out the last either Q or W that he had. And so if you switch between Q and W, you're stuck with W until the 15 seconds is over. Some quick traits.
I can't.
What?
I just can't believe you put times and stuff. You really thought this through. I wrote down my names 5 minutes ago.
One of his traits would be summon magical armor and swords. So this would disable all of his abilities but R and give him armor and melee auto attacks. And it's toggleable, so it's not on a cooldown.
And I'm guessing they're really strong. Like he hits hard.
Not ton stronger. Maybe he'd be, for a HOTS reference, maybe like a 2-sword variant, right? Just without the abilities.
Right.
He could change his Summon Death Knight to Summon Lich, so it would be a ranged fire auto attack instead of the Death Knight. And his last one would be Subjugate, so it would remove the need to hold the circle capture for camps, and it would just instantly take it.
So it's like a bribe, a big bribe,
okay. Right? But like a 2 or 5 minute cooldown or something. Anyways, that's Einzul Gone.
That sounds overpowered.
But really well thought out.
Yes, very well thought out.
I hate you both.
Jeremy, how about you?
All right, so Magical Slayer Mamika from Recreators.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a pretty good one.
Yep. So like any magical Slayer Mamika transforms. But here's the thing. This is her Q. And she can do it when she's always transformed, right? She's always in her heroic form. So instead, it's more like a speech, right? Mm-hmm. And what it does is it stuns both your allies and your enemies for 2 full seconds. And she goes into an animation for that time period where she's like saying all her catchphrases like love will conquer all and we will win and the good will survive and all kinds of other garbage, right? And during this time, nothing can happen. And it's got a 15-second cooldown. So every 15 seconds, if you're playing Mamika, you can just stop everything to go through your transformation sequences. Now, this has huge potential to be a great disruptor, but a huge combo former. Because during those 2 seconds, everyone sees what's going on. And so they can communicate if they're in teams and be like, all right, as soon as the 2-second stun is up, land all your combos here and do this, or no, we got to retreat. So you can completely change your strategies. So she could be very, very pivotal to find moments where you're like, oh no, he's using an ult. Let's pause everybody now. And that will pull him out of his ult. And then everybody can run away and disengage or whatever. So that's her Q. And her W, her next ability is Aerial Surge. And this is, she's always flying, hovering above the ground. This lets her get a huge speed boost and a defensive buff. And I thought this was appropriate because of how easily she was catching the other aerial character when we first get introduced to Mamika in the anime. She is stinking fast and she is tough. So this just really capitalizes on that. She can go in, she's an assassin, she goes in, she gets the kills, and she also needs it to get away if she's got in a little bit too far. Her third ability is Shining Shower, which this is basically Mamika has a wand made of ribbons, right? And when she shoots her wand at you, a pink heart flies out that's like a rocket from a bazooka, basically. But it's a pink heart. So what this is when she's launching a whole bunch of them like rapid fire rockets. So it's like a skill shot that does a lot of damage if it gets you. But it has a good regular cooldown. It's kind of normal splash? There. That is her ult. Okay. The magical splash is her ult. It's a huge area effect. It's a broad radius, and it morphs into the flare at level 20 where, I mean, what does she get? More power! Because she is the most powerful character ever. And so she is, her trait, you know what her trait is? I really like this trait. Moral Compass. If you have any person on your team that is playing a character that is not on the good side of the Nexus, she gets a penalty the entire game. If everybody is good, though, she gets a bonus. So there is no mid ground. It's just Mamika fights better if she knows she's fighting for a good cause, and who she's fighting alongside matters.
Nightmare. No one would ever get to practice with her.
Yep.
I do like that though.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Troy, what's your?
I don't know. What did I write down? Aaron from Attack on Titan.
Okay.
Okay, so he's obviously in his 3D mobile gear. My chair broke. His Q would be he shoots out one of the hooks, and he can swing on buildings or other characters. If he's to the left of them, he swings to the left. If he's on the right of it, he swings to the right. So he'd be really good at diving towers, but however far he is from when he lands it, he actually swings in an arc 180 degrees to the other side. Mm-hmm. So you could get him to the other side of buildings and just have a ton of mobility.
Oh, jeez.
His W would be a spin where he pulls out his knives and slashes with them. But afterwards, he would have to reload his sword, so he would have a few seconds where he couldn't attack. So it had to be a finishing move, otherwise you're standing there for a few seconds.
What if he has like
just a melee character?
Yes, he is a melee assassin.
Oh, okay. And then this is like using
with hyper mobility.
Okay.
What if you gave him? What if you gave him some stacks of like the blades are regenerating stacks, so he could swing like 3 or 4 times and then it went away?
No, you just need a high cooldown on it.
Really? Okay.
Is it the blades that was stack or the spears? I don't know.
I don't remember.
His E would be a heal that he would have to stand still for. He would partially transform into his Titan form and then heal. His ult would be his Titan form, and you would have to choose between 2 different things. You could be a devourer where you bite other characters and take huge chunks of health off of them, or you could have this long range AoE where you pick up giant boulders and throw it.
That's so great.
So that would be your 2 choices. And I didn't write down like times or anything, so
that's fine.
Jason, what's your next one?
Sato from Ajin.
Oh,
come on!
No. This
it's like a Leoric, basically.
I put a little too much thought into this. I would agree with that. So he's a ranged assassin. He uses a gun. But his Q would be a knife move, so it would do a ton of damage, but it would apply a bleed. His W would be plant claymore. So after a 3-second channel, Sato would plant a claymore that would become invisible. So it would be similar to the invisibility mechanic of HOTS right now, where you can kind of see if you're looking for it. But anyone that passes by, it explodes in a cone. And it does damage, and it will blind for 2 seconds, and you can have up to 3 of them out at once. His E would be Ajin attack, so Sato becomes stationary and summons his Ajin for up to 10 seconds. He can cancel it at any time. Once it comes out, Sato's stationary, but you control the Ajin now, and it's a melee auto attacks. He can also be an obstacle for abilities and attacks. So you can use it as a shield. His R is revive. Sato can revive anytime during his death counter. If he revives this way, however, he adds 10 seconds compoundly to not only his next death counter, but also his ability. So the first time you use the R, there's no cooldown on it. But the second time you use it, it will add 10-second cooldown. And then so on and so on until you sit through the entire normal death counter. So
is there a limit, or could you just perpetually keep adding?
No, you can perpetually keep adding, and then you could be out of the game for literally 10 minutes if you kept using it too much. Because every time you revive, you only revive with 10% health and 10% mana. So if you don't do it correctly, the enemy can exploit that, you trying to revive, and they can just
farm on you.
Yeah, exactly, over and over again. And all of a sudden you've got a death counter of 4 minutes while everyone else is at 20, 30 seconds.
Interesting. I like that.
Yeah. His other R, instead of revive, would be he basically summons his Ajin to block all incoming damage automatically for 5 seconds, and his E becomes unusable, so he could do his other abilities. His trait would be C4, so instead of Claymore, he would do his C4 charge. He would only get to plant one of them, and it would become triggerable, but it would do double damage and no blind. And then Recruit Ajin could be one where it would use his E. He controls one, but 2 Ajin come out uncontrollable, and they're a little weaker, and they go around and attack stuff.
Oh, I like that.
Right on.
That's Sato.
All right, Jeremy, back to you.
All right, my second character is from My Hero Academia. It's Chiyo Shuzenji, the recovery girl.
Nice.
So,
support.
So little grandma comes on the field. Now I got to tell you what her trait is first, because it kind of influences all her abilities. And that is she carries medical supplies, 6 stacks. They constantly regenerate. Now, another thing that's interesting about her is that those stacks can be accessed by anyone on her team by treating her like a fountain. If you need to be healed and you need a medical supply,
You have to go click.
click on her. And this will take away her stacks. Now, alternatively, she can choose to patch you up, and that's one of her abilities, and it will expend a medical stack to heal you up that way. All it does is a medical stack increases your own regeneration rate by a percentage, like maybe a 200% or 400%. It makes you regenerate much, much faster for like 10 seconds. So it's definitely not enough. It's something you want to do before you go into battle, is get some medical supplies, or if you've suffered a little bit of damage, and then her other 2 abilities revolve around her elderly wisdom and advice. They are encourage and chastise. And respectively, these 2 abilities will buff all allies in a cone, kind of like how Deckard Cain's is like half of a circle, right? A hemisphere out there. Well, hers is like a large cone, and any allies that she catches in the cone, they get a buff to their attack damage and maybe, I think just attack damage. That's what it was. And this way, her encourage, and it lasts for like 10 seconds, and it's on a cooldown for like 12 or something. And so this is her way to like say, yeah, go to the battle. Your attack damage is boosted. You're great. And chastise, on the other hand, gives them a speed and defense buff. So she can say that when they need to get out of the battle. What are you doing? That was stupid. Get back here. That was a horrible decision. Okay. Her ult is heal, and this is the only time her quirk actually comes into effect. And so what she does is she runs up, and there's no cooldown because this is a complex ability. She can kiss any of her team members with an old lady kiss, and this will convert all of their mana into health. Now, here's the thing. It always fills your health completely to full. But it consumes whatever amount of mana is necessary to do this. And if you need more health than you have mana, part of that health bar is discolored to show that that's how long that all of your, let's see, what was it? Your mana will not regenerate
until that health is filled.
Until that health bar is back to normal, and you suffer from like a 20% slow. And once it fills back up and your health is back full to normal, your mana continues and the health, or the slow debuff disappears.
Interesting.
Yep. That's Chiyo.
All right, my next one is Subaru from ReZero.
Nice.
Except he doesn't really have any abilities of his own.
He's the worst, though.
We're gonna do his trait last. His Q is Rem, who shows up with her wrecking ball, jumps in front of him, and smacks someone away. So
I'm loving it already.
He has a push. His W would be Ram, who would show up and shield him from an attack with like 50% reduction no matter what's hitting him.
That's so great.
His E would be telling someone about his ability, which would blind them when the black cloud drops. from he gets the smell, right?
Would he get like a slow?
yeah, because he gets the hard thing. So yeah, he's gonna have to take a slow and probably even like an armor reduction.
That's awesome.
But they're blinded, so they can't. So only use it on auto attackers.
and stagger away from them.
His ult would be Puck, who freezes all enemies with him wherever they are on the map. Just ice covers everything, and they're automatically frozen for like a 3-second route. No matter, they can't dodge it; it's just coming. His trait would be his ability returned by death. The way it works is whatever kills Subaru cannot kill him the next time. So if he dies to a basic attack, he cannot die to a basic attack his next life.
Oh, dude.
That's awesome.
If he dies to a character's ultimate, that ultimate cannot kill him his next life. So you have to be careful how you kill him. And you might even make it like he can't be damaged. So like if you kill him with a basic attack, he's now immune to basic attacks for the whole next life.
I like that.
Him. Whereas if you hit him with your Q, only your Q now he's immune to. So certain characters would be really, really overpowered against.
I like that.
That would be my Subaru, and I like the idea of the different girls just like showing up beside him.
I love that idea.
Yes. Where's Amelia?
Well, she'd be in the Puck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I do have one more.
Okay, we gotta go a little bit faster now, though.
All right, so it'd be Tatiana from Mega's Bride.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so she would be a support. She'd have a healing hand, so it's a melee range heal. W would be to summon 2 Spriggans to block and fight for her, or actually her target. E would be heal over time. She send out fairies. Her first R would be to consume the essence of her target and distribute it to her allies in a range around her. And the second one would be come visit, which she would create a large circle where if enemies come into the circle and then try to leave, they will take damage if they leave. And the further they get, the larger the dot is for 5 seconds.
I like that.
That's it.
So fast characters would really get punished.
Yes.
Thought it was thematic of, come visit and never leave.
Yes.
I like that, yeah.
You'll be sleeping down here forever.
Plus, I'd play her just to see her on the loading screen.
And that's it.
All right, I got a third one.
Okay.
Zerum from.
Oh, I was wondering if that was going to come up.
Oh yeah, it was
what?
the first one I thought of.
From what?
From Iria, the Zerum animation.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow, I'm excited.
yeah. We should have seen this coming.
It was the first one I thought of. I was like, Zerum has to do it. Okay, so Zerum has a taunt, is his Q ability, and what it is the face extends out and hisses at the enemy, and they're taunted for 2 seconds, and they have to fight because they're so scared or so disgusted, they have to fight. So it's like a variant thing there. His next ability is Spawn Clone, and he's able to spawn a mutant, degenerate, inferior clone of himself that will fight for 20 seconds. Nice. It just follows him around. I don't think it would do like what it does with Osmodan, where it just goes in a straight line. I think this would follow him around and help. No, it'd be like a summoned creature like Nazebo's or yeah. He can give it a little bit of instruction. Maybe it was how Nazebo's used to be. His third ability is Rage, and he gets massive buffs to his attack and defense for a short period of time when he uses this ability. His ult is he can actually copy the Q ability of any friend or foe by assimilating it from them. This gets added to the number keys section and is permanent until he dies.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So, yep, each ability shares a cooldown. So you can use one ability from, and it's always the Q ability. He copies the Q ability from any enemy or friend.
Does he have to get hit with it or just tease?
He has to use his ult to get it.
Oh, okay. So you use the ult on an enemy and then you get their Q.
Yep. And then the cooldown to actually use those abilities is shared among the number keys. Now, his level 20 version of that is that each ability then has its own cooldown. When he dies, he loses all these abilities and has to acquire them again. It's a melee range, and it's actually a channeling where he's got to keep him within range for a very short period of time, like 1 second. So it'd be really hard to do stuff that is on fast characters. His talent or his trait revolves around his death. Death results in the head disconnecting from the body and remaining controllable by the player. The player can then send the head to capture a minion and consume it. Once it has, the player can send the head to a safe place and regenerate the body, which takes like 10 seconds. So it could be faster, it could be slower, it depends on if you can get away. The enemy can actually damage and destroy the head because it has half of the health of the body at this level. In so doing, you would wind up respawned at the base. If you lose the head is when you lose the talents.
Interesting.
That's Zerum.
Of course, yeah, Zerum. So I got one more. I'll skip through most of it. It's Madoka from Madoka Magica because I had to have
I thought about that one.
Yeah.
I thought about her too.
She has the big bow.
Her abilities are like I was thinking like stuff like she was ribbon to Ruchu. She would have Cube could summon witches, and she had other things. But what matters is her ult. Okay, let's talk about her ult.
Yeah, that's really what you're in for.
This is what Madoka's ult is because she literally becomes a rule of physics. So when Madoka ults, your team is instantly fully healed.
God.
All damage they do is critical for 15 seconds.
Oh,
and the enemy has like a 10% armor reduction.
Damn.
So basically, your
God.
entire team just becomes a monster. But Madoka can only ult once, and when she does, she disappears from the game.
Oh God, I love it. I love it.
So you have to pick the perfect fight to use it.
That's
And
awesome.
you're guaranteed to win that fight, but if you don't win that fight or don't do enough for that fight, you lose the game. After she ults,
awesome.
the player becomes Cube, who has a small AoE heal similar to like a character like Brightwing or Lucio, but very small healing, and only heals by picking up little black dots that other characters form whenever they drop it, whenever they do damage to anything. So if they hit a minion, a little black dot drops off of them, and then Cube can pick it up, and then a small AoE heal comes off of it. Very small, like hardly anything. Not much more than yourself regenerating yourself. So you're still in the game and you're still helping a little bit, but really, when you press that R, this needs to win the game or you're done.
That's awesome. Well, I can imagine so many accidental presses of that.
Oh yeah,
Rage quits.
There's so many people. Why did you R there? We were just going for boss.
Exactly. Yep. Oh,
Yeah.
that's how it works. Ah,
Keep in mind, I had no thoughts about game balance or anything when I thought of any of these.
that's great.
I gave it like
love
10
it.
minutes before the show.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is it for our MOBA discussion. We love playing Heroes of the Storm, usually. So we wanted to bring that out. I hope what we were talking about made sense, but if not, it's a minisode. Move on. You can send your character ideas either to Blizzard, which might actually get you money, or to us at Baka Podcast, or email the animebakaclub@gmail.com, or leave a comment wherever you found this minisode. Our next minisode is going to be our 100th episode we've put out. We're very excited, and I have a special treat for these two guys and our audience for that minisode. So I hope
Letter from a
I don't want to comment on that. You know, I don't attack our listeners about their opinions on beards. But yeah, it should be really fun. I hope everyone tunes into that one. It's going to be kind of a big deal. Very similar to what we do with our year's celebration that we did last time, but not so much reminiscing like we're going to do when we hit 2 years. Just celebrating the 100th episode. I put some work into this one. I'm excited. Other than that, we will talk to you next week about the anime we are currently watching, which is The Seven Deadly Sins, the first 12 episodes. And we'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
Sayonara.